Please turn to page 9 of the Kurukulla Center Prayer Book. We'll start with praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer of the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans who were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise, then I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha. Homage to the Dharma refuge. Homage to the great Sangha. To all 3, ever devout homage. To all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms, in all aspects. With supreme faith, I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, the flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the ways of aging, sickness, and death. On page 23, the Heart Sutra. Homage to the Exalted 3 Jewels. Thus have I heard at one time, the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajagriha on Vulture Mountain, together with a great assembly of monks and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of the countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. At that very time, the superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, was looking perfectly at the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom, perfectly looking at the emptiness of inherent existence of the 5 aggregates also. Then, through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said to the superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, how should a child of lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and the superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, replied to the Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whichever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom should look perfectly like this, subsequently looking perfectly and correctly at the emptiness of inherent existence of the 5 aggregates also. Form is empty, emptiness is form. Emptiness is not other than form, form is not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors in consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are empty without characteristics. That is, they are not produced and do not cease. They have no defilement and no separation from defilement. They have no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visible form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no object of touch, no mental phenomenon. There is no I element and so forth up to no mind element, up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no cessation of ignorance and so forth up to no aging and death and no cessation of aging and death. Likewise, there is no suffering, no origin, no cessation and no path, no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide in the perfection of wisdom, and because their minds have no obstructions, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond error, they attain the final state beyond sorrow. All the Buddhas who reside on the three times by relying upon the perfection of wisdom become manifest and complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the equal to the unequaled mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering since it is not false should be known as the truth. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is proclaimed. Tayata, gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisoha. Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva, a great being, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and said to the superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, well said, O child of the lineage, so it is. The profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced exactly as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the superior Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, and the entire assembly, as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, Gandharvas, and others, were filled with admiration and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. Please turn to page 35 for the Mandala Offering. Soki chognam la jangchu bardu dagni kapsu chi dagi chunyin ki be sonam ki drola penchu sangye drupa shu chudang soki chognam la jangchu bardu dagni kapsu chi dagi chunyin ki be sonam ki drola penchu sangye drupa shu Soki chognam la jangchu bardu dakni kapsu chi dagi chenyen gi pesonam ki drola penchu sangi drupa sho.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Salam alaikum mi je on bodon je na so se jalo jawa jawa no so je sumaro de shin de we juru. Je do je de mi chi ni je de we je de je sa de ju ba je de ba de la cho de yon ko. Dive lobe nyo je na ju de me de on be dan le wa de la tu be so nyen ji. Namla de ha yu kana la de jeng ka tu bu da da me ka na da ro ku ni de no je za ba tham je kwe do da gre che de no 강기 되는 저 가고 매바 매바 제바 매바 담에 뭐 맞좀 다들 되는 되는 저와 니시시한 뭐 소리 상계만은 제 담보대로 자자로서 어야 나 안다 되는데 가서 쇼줘라 아니 그냥 아니 다음에 신문 나와나 시체니 아니다 我是接听嘛，我们录个这边，俺你我是接出，是被错出个哪里？俺你人家听嘛是这个，我在这里边先弄就嘛学些东西嘞，哦，这一张他开始学的了，开始也是了，去年明年搞的了，还有公用的开始学的加油的，是吧？ 그런데 아니 아니 개와다 메개와다 로마 땡기 아니 그런 티오마게 아니 치에 매 차와데 로마게 차와데 아니 개와다 메개와 어디 그런 거랑 저거와데 이랑 최근에 그냥 논데라 아니 간대주 고아래 해서나 아니 다 최대 아니 두번 준비 그냥 아니 자주 그서 그냥 와가지고 고아래 야
And so today here and at the center, just like Geshe-la made a request to give teaching on the Precious Garland. So this is one of the 6 works of Nagarjuna. And so one of them is called Precious Garland. And so this is the teaching that's going to be given here today. And so the most important thing is to be in a place and to set up a proper motivation and to have a virtuous and a non-virtuous or a neutral motivation. So when you are listening to the teachings, for the teaching to become a dharma, it has to be conjoined with the virtuous motivation. And so depending on what kind of the activity it becomes depends on the motivation. So since we're listening to the Mahayana teaching here, and so therefore it is important to have bodhicitta motivation.
Oh yeah, that's how you say. I need to 아니 최선당 간들이 세나가 아니 다 자주 그 섬생인데 아니 가르래 세나 간들 사다 버래 세나 내라 아니 말한조 다리 토박이 땡데 다조기 땡데 땡상보 임바 그러와 근데 아니 다리 렌지 토바데 아니 제랑만 말한조랑 아니 우리 된지들이 가사 가서 차량아마게 가사 태기 아니 단대기 대다를 두배기 아니 주저 표승초와 루발라 땡에 토가리 그러와 대부 주의 제에서 좋아 인당 주동도 마사나 땡에 통이 토야기 주동도 마사나 대부 땡상보다 토고야 말이 그러와 다른 아니 다른 아마게 말한저기 아니 교황아마당 디기 땡 상보도 토야고 주저 두발라 땡에 아니 다른 땡 상보도 굉장히 토마리 다 치마 제가 치마데 땡 상보 간도 토다 메도데 아니 다른 나라들 아니 땡들 내와리 이런 다른 제가 치마 아니 단단하시 아니 가서래 땡 상보 오늘 다저기 최저자단데 막게 땡땡지 토바 쳐봐라 아니 뒤 주소데 세디가 두고래 그와 어디 두고와 인상 아니 땡땡지 취소 좀 마송아 아니 다 가서래 쇼크와데 같이 뭐 차와래 저치마 단조기 리제 토바 대양 단조기 땡상 토바자 마인바 nendola tade ani dindi liden zamzam toba mayimba tasamba tenza mayimba ona kanere sana liden de tomi ani liden kewaje deni je todi zamba ani digi tenchembo tukre tenchembo kanere tukre sana ani rang xianyiga rwa rang xian semjian tamje ani koi dunga la ba dunga le 자주 거기 등하지 자주라 마 타데 그러나 아니 최주자와 선생이 더 토자라면 뭐 양하고 저를 산재지 공부 토거와 최주제외라는 뭐 양하고 산재지 공부 토바 제발라 아니 비 토지기 주 아니 다 가르쳐서나 람라 라고에 람타시 순제가 라고에 오타시 순제 람지념서 양바 제발라 아니 라와 제발라 다시 순제념 제 시어고거래 시와라 아니 냠바고거래 좋아 이거 당연히 마음부시고 무슨 말에 대응거래 인자 아니 다래 나비 단조지 땡에서 뭐 렌지 토들 깜디 아니 다 코에 핀조라 체리 핀조랑 코에 디지라 맞아봐 막에 semjen 탐제 아니 코에 내나 동아지 동아당 주의 동아당 차원 도시지 동아 숨지 냠타바 되는 아니 동아 주다 제발라 다위 시도 아니 도자가는 뭐야 나봐서 사제주 고마를 뭐지 지내져 도봐 저기 어디치도 아니 사제주 고마 도저게 람데 아니 람 탑다셔라 미래 탑 창조기살라 이제 싫어도 많이 어디가 된다고 나네더니 탑다셔라 이가 다시 이가 지 때지 좋잖아 땡게디 너무 말이 이제听我的 우마는 이제 필요하게 르비 초장인 바체 또저그 나라야 여와이자 디 탑다 싫어니까 땜바래 옛날에 된다고 탑시 차바제 땜베 아니 좀 공부를 제대로 좀 상문디 디기 아니 새로 생기니 한번 거네 아니 다 고용 부족을 봐또 뒤잖아 틀리지 그상 아니 그냥 하는 생각이 된 거래
And so now, in order to generate the bodhicitta motivation, so what is bodhicitta? So first, we have to know what is the bodhicitta, and now for that, in order to set up the bodhicitta motivation, first it is important to understand that we have achieved this perfect human rebirth for once only, which is very difficult to achieve. And this is not achieved without any cause and conditions. So the reason, the fact that we have this perfect human rebirth now in this life is because our previous life person have created all the cause and conditions. So that has been already preceded, creating of the cause and condition, been already preceded by the previous life person, and because of that, we are able to have this perfect human rebirth in this life. And so right now, having perfect human rebirth in this life is because of the past life persons creating cause and condition, and whether we'll have what kind of rebirth we're going to have in the future, depends on our present, at our present situation now. And so, in order to have a good rebirth in the future, to be born in the upper realm as a perfect human rebirth, we have to create all the causes, all the collections of the cause and conditions together. And without that, there's no way one can achieve the perfect human rebirth. And then even if we achieve perfect human rebirth in the future, not just being free from being born in the lower realm, and being born in the upper realm is not very useful. One has to be born in the upper realm as human rebirth with all the conditions to make a good use of this perfect human rebirth by practicing Dharma. And so what kind of Dharma we should practice is the Dharma that benefits oneself and all sentient beings, and to free all sentient beings from the cycle existence, from the ocean of cycle existence, and then to achieve the final state of enlightenment. And so, in order to achieve that, we have to practice the path and the method and the wisdom, the combination or the union of method, unification of method and wisdom. So the method, in order to practice that, we have to study. Without studying, there's no way we can practice. So in order to practice, we have to study, and then studying a text like this, the Precious Garland, of the middle way, is a complete text that contains all the teachings of the both method, which is bodhicitta and compassion, and the wisdom realizing selflessness. And so we have to set up this motivation, thinking that in order to achieve enlightenment, for the benefit of all sentient beings, and to free them from all the sufferings, like the sufferings of suffering of change and all pervasive suffering, I must achieve state of full enlightenment. And then for that reason, I'm going to listen to this teaching on the Precious Garland of the Middle Way, taught by Nagarjuna. So this is the kind of motivation one should set up in order to listen to this teaching.
Oh yeah, Wamba Tovada, Neri Jukoma, Rawa, or Shizano Ondo than Neri Tana, and it's some Cheshire. Rawa, Ondo than Neri, Senator Cadisero, that much we gave a martyr, Wamba Tova, Sena. I know only the dance and Marado, the Hada me, then the only the day. Wamba Tova, say Gala, and again, and so long Wamba Tova, Talia Tati. Ondo Dupsi, Ondo said, I know Ondo Hada me, then. What be? I know tender only the day. Take her, Sana, Nelly Tamja Chamber, Druba Cheva La, I need. 조제기 란타중에 쉬워 나시체 내리 탐제 쳔버 타바다 탐제 쳔버 주바 쳔바라 내리 타바다 탐제 쳔버 주바를 쳔바기 아니 탑대 공부래 탑 공부 쳔바라 아니 탑대 공약이 땡기 나네 쳔바데 아니 가소래 운디리게 태양 운디리게 태양 천이 상와 남조주로 천이 상위 때 많이 받을 사지 명월에 the Mazame be Juralo wasn't the do Timan Bawate. Sabala Rujawa Nechever, do the Doshi Sawa Tamba Che, Sassuana Chichela, Ruti Diogana, Ida Lam Drubaki, any Lam Druba, the Tapa, the Tanajibu, Combat Toba Chevala, Toji Lam Koga, Lam Gomea de la Tani Sawa Majuna, Kazu Gomga Chunaya. Tani Maza Lama Sajatani on Grovamari. It is so de Undo or Dan Chabaja Undo Drukeva. Undo Tobne, anyway. Only Dan Dela, anyway, Tabata Tabja Chabatuna, and the two Tuachi down, Josatella Undo than a lady to it.
And so in this precious garland of the middle way, Nagarjuna taught, on the basis of the subject matter of the higher rebirth and definite goodness or higher goodness, and so in order to when you talk about the higher rebirth, so higher rebirth is of the higher rebirth of the human and gods, and which is higher than the lower realms, like hell, Homage, and pretas, and higher than the lower realms. So that is the perfect basis for achieving the definite goodness of the omniscience, and so in order to achieve that, we need we need to meditate on the method. So the best basis to meditate on the method of achieving the definite goodness of the omniscience, liberation in omniscience, is the perfect human rebirth, and so. Just like Lobsang said in his middle length of Lamrim, it says, without having the perfect basis, there's no way one can achieve the spring path. So therefore, in order to achieve that, the highest state of the definite goodness of the omniscience, one has to depend on this perfect human rebirth or the high rebirth. Through that, then one can achieve. So this is the subject matter of this text, the Precious Garland.
Oh yeah, but generally, I need to I need to castle the Mashua Chabala, I need to get up with Chawadam, I need that kind of T-shirt with Danger Ginashadoji Ion Gore. Let the new Jabba be Chawa Candares and a Danger Jabba pudding, I don't come with Lutu or the Singashamo Lutu Singana. Some then there's Aniki, Jawarani, Lumdemba. So, oh, Lumdeni, Casore, oh, Lumden de la Lumden, the daughter of Mendoza, Mamboya, in Bari, Rawa, Langashi, Todam, Aniki, Todam, oh, Tenzin, and a down over Chipola, Sawaki, and it's some then the young island David, Jesus. Money young dad on social petty udini, money young dad on social petty udini, Kelon Panda Sheshawa. Timmy Lucy Bepade, Yeda may be Chocheba, my Damba Chidando, and 사와잖아요. 아니 라도가에 사주데 색도나 가르송원에 저점대니 양을 내게 오도 달로제 뭐 가서에 뭐 대중민다서 말해. 좀 로고자야 마소하다. 투자야 마소하다. 로자주야 마소하다. 요한테 되게 말해. 이런 아니 채라 아니 가서라 루시와 개미루시 배워봤대. 와 사조데 허전 베다 계산이 아니 채나 루시 제방 루시 배워봤대. 어디니 많이 담바지된도 아니 배사왔잖아. 좀 된대지. 아니 단지지 가서래 공부해라. 아니 다 가려요 말해서나 가서래 우마 타도 되게하고 고마 이거 우메신데 소시 우마메신데 소시라 루루샤고 말해 많이 담바지된도 남의 티제라잖아. 라도 가게 사주데 대화찬도 태조하고 세가나 어디지가나 아니 다 좀 된대지 롱 때문에 어디 된다와대 아니 롱 때문에 아니 되게 좀 된대 요금바 치신도 싸wan 잡아대라 아니 다 바로 준비 TV는 아니 되게 준비 아니 제자 뭐든 돈이지 뭐는 대화 쳐봐대라 아니 잡아셔라 아니 저도 아니 저 초반에 다 이제 리제트와라 소바리로 초치자바인 바리 오니 투모마에 방아지 아니 티바방바 잡아라 아니 뭐제 스투스체체네 동안이가 왜 아니 배서 되게 두시요아리 왜이란 되게 다좀 내려 수대와 보라니 아니 루루랑 좀 내지 롱라 땜바 아니 사tumba 톰네스 아니 라도가베 사tumba 톰네드니 테네 좀바치들라는 바야다 바토베 사제요 콤바 토바라 쟁랭이 아니 루루시와데 아니 단제 잡아보세요.
And so this text, the Precious Garland of the Middle Way, has many categories. And so one of the two main categories is that the greatness of the author or the composer, and the greatness of the teaching that is taught by the author. And so the author or the composer of this teaching is the Nagarjuna. So Nagarjuna is one of the two pioneers of the Buddha's teachings. So the Buddha's teaching behind the teaching which degenerated and then it was revived again by this by Nagarjuna. And so also so this is the prophecy or prophesied by Buddha himself. So he says like somebody who will be born after a certain number of years and in the southern part of the country. It's called Bedeyul, and his name will be Palden or Gelong Palden, and or later it's called known as Ludup. It's Nagarjuna, and then he said who will revive my teaching. So the teachings, especially teaching on the Mahayana teaching. And so there's a many different versions of the number of the years they mentioned. So it's like some says 900 after 900 years, so some says 600, some say 80 years. So after that, there will be someone called Gelong Palden or Nagarjuna, born in the Bede, country, and who will revive the teachings of the Buddha. And so this is the greatness of the author who was prophesied by Buddha, and then he says who will achieve the great joyous ground, which is the seventh ground, and then eventually from there will achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So this Nagarjuna, one of the great pioneers, is the author or the composer of these teachings, and so he composed these great teachings known as as the 6 works of Nagarjuna, which includes like the fundamental wisdom and the Precious Garland, which is one of the one that we're going to study now. And so those are the common teachings, and then also uncommon teachings on the Tantra. He gives whole complete teachings on both teachings on both Sutra and Tantra.
Oh yeah, that is and it's and Umatawa shadow of the children of my imba. And it Tenzin only do that. And only do that and Java, so the Kare 7 days, and it took a children girl lamb to Shune, and it Tabana Tanja Toba Shabara, Tojek, Toba Shabara, and it or Samutoma Toka. What you have done about? They are there about to show you one, then about to show the case. You know, I need to them I need or Chanju Sam down. I need to only to be shared there upon me. Kawakashi share the Rinjin Zola Mashaba. I need to go to my time to check the share already. To so that I need to castle. And so you got me, I turned them by his own. What is on? Well, our shadow, Tibetan Jilamji, them by day, and this is in what is castle? Umaju Bedruba Nashitani, Rijitima Sonne, Kakakane, and then you a castle, Tashu Combateva Nashitani, Rijitima della. And that's Samulam Jeribama, that's a Velam Jeribaya, Java Tabacha, that was anybody. Tenderly, I need to remove Rijitima Shabatella, I never can do over the S and I change it, Juji Chang. I need Jukiten, Kashukitan, Jukitan, Jenny, that's how the city on good it. Yeah.
And so this Precious Garland, which is said to be like the part, of the fundamental wisdom, by some, but some says, it's a teaching on itself, which contains, all the teachings, on the profound, part of the emptiness, and the extensive, part of the both, bodhicitta. So this is, one of some, so there's 2 different versions. Some says it's from the 6 works of Nagarjuna, some says from the other. But anyway, so this teaching on the Precious Garland, of the middle way, which has both, subject matters, of the emptiness, wisdom realizing emptiness, and also the bodhicitta. So they both, it has both subject matters in here.
Oh yeah, that means Tenzin countries and Jaga Pedu, or Bari, Bari Angata, Arana Mali. That is perfectly to this and Makaris or Esena, and if Javola, Javo Deshi Sambala Tamba Yazam. The Tamsa, the suicide is about the Javo Deshi Sambala Tamba. Javola, Deshi Sambola Tabe, Tambu Chava, Remochima, said Remochima, Sigwari, Jagadu, Ranzati, Perketu, Javo. Oh, Parikatani, Tam Chava, Rana de Rimbuche. Malani Kuma, Tegala, and the Pondishapana, Jane, Pelgado, Javola Tamdo Chavi, which Kuma said to somebody, Tena, or Java, they just have a check. And it is Jadella, and this I get a Jajusama Tamjala Chatalo, said he, and indeed, and then Castle, Habashet of Gilava, Habatin Gilava. Or things about things which are told that don't want to China. And this idea is a somebody to judge about to him, but yeah.
And so this, the text, the teaching, the Precious Garland of the middle way, has kind of 4 parts. So there's the name or the title of the text, and then there is the homage by the translator, and then the actual text, the meaning of the actual text, and the conclusion. So there's like 4 parts. And so the title of this text in Sanskrit is called Raja Parigata Ratnamala. And so in Tibetan, and in English it will be translated as a speech or the letter and a teaching, to the teaching called Ratna, the jewel, Mala is the rosary, and the Raja is like a king. So this is Raja means king, Parigata is the speech or instruction, and Ratna is the jewel, and the Mala is the rosary, so the precious garland. So that's what we translated into English like that.
Oh yeah.
And sorry, no, and also so because and then the homage, done by the translator, it says the homage, to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and that shows that this teaching falls under the category, of the training, of the concentration, of the 3 trainings.
Oh yeah, that didn't that was a chata when you and never good and non-trusting. And then good you came up, some good you Tamjela, Tatalo, Segala, or Digi, I need never good and never enough. I need that counsel the name of that to be. Nobody sees to be never saw. Roa, or never good and non-trusting. Roa, or Digi around the Pujamare. Randu Pinzo Sena, and Randu Toba Pinzo Rang. And Mamba Pinzo Segala, Pando Pinzo Yode, Chitawata Chiva Sebi, you said Toba Pinzo Tang. Or Ani, Neva Tamji Bambi Bamba, the Anuba Dandy, Tinu de Randu Pinzo Sche. Sandy Pinzo saying, Tini Tuji Lang, Ani Longitu Gudan. Ani counsel the Kurukulla Tenzola, and this is Kyabje Pinzo Sigwari. Ida Tambotella, Baba Toba Nini, Gamba Tambo Niji, Gamba Bamba de Neva Kulan, Namdoji, and then Quini, and Yamba Bo, Silver Slava, Jachi, Neva Kula. You what I see to Bala Sabaka, Neva Kula, number Trobam, Neva Queen Bamba Bamba. And then good you came up with Sigala, Sitawata Chini, and Lutamja Chitawa, I can do still banky, Toba Pinzo Chitan. And then, oh, that's some good you Sigala, some being Sigala, and then some do not do that Javala, Towa. Some do not do that Javala. Animaranto la pen toa chinga di era wa bi se de la pen toa da ani kona chi tu jabyo wa o Tenzin na shi ji shi wa ne to de la pen toa la jogyo wa impare ro ne jun ne de ji ana la pen toa ka di chinga wa de se na semjen bu ji chi se ga la lo ji ne chi da wa shi de tembe kwa ne or Catholic, never did a sewer chingandi, sewer de Jumende, and sewer chigoare, Sena. I mean, Longogine, Chijimalo, but Demicon, and never the Selkava. Lemado, Jidagaba, and Chingadi, and Ebaya, Gurgurgurni, Nasonganaya to Gado, Tigedan. Jidagaba, Mayimba, Midimitu Choya, Mayimba. What that country is, and I do a Juko in Zang, longer than a Chijimalo, but Dungandi, and it Jumdende in Zang. Do not say the Labaki, Samasevana, she say a meba. Tunan Dibachi, Medusins, Dibachi, do an Ashani, Chia meba. Do you do not have a Messela, so do you do not say the Galaban and Savatamanazi, and it say a meba. And he also been about some Jimmy, she found over and a Dujala Martene, and a Dujavi to what I said today, never. Ona Karasana, Lando Jene, Sushi to Tani, Tembanasi, Dujarangi, and Lale Cheni, and Bashi to Yamata, Bashi to Tony, Taran, Yakuda Towati, Yonguin Zang, or Digi, Anita, to see. Some young about Changa, they jumped in Kasi Suguni or the Yinzang. Some then, and Dujala was a church, and they Suguni or the watch, two with the long with the Tuguni or the or Tegi. I some young good age, what Tamja Chana, Chatalo, Segala, or the Shandy Pizzol, the Tenila Shandy Pizzol, Siguare. Quando che trovano della radio penso seguire o tenere tamje chen si va topa penso ni divam yene theta dan debe ani siala cheshi bi kone ani jomne dela to ba java to si bare
And so, on the verse number 1, where it reads, "And I bow to the omniscient one, who is utterly free of all faults and adorned with all good qualities, the sole friend of all sentient beings." And so, first, it says utterly free of all faults and adorned with all good qualities. And so this shows that he has perfectly completed all his one's own purposes, and then there's an others' purposes. Having fulfill one's own purposes and fulfilling others' purposes. And so these, having those two, the complete abandonments, having abandoned all the faults, all the obscurations, all the delusions, and so that shows the perfect abandonment, having abandoned all that. And when it says adorned with all the good qualities, that shows the perfect achievements, or the realizations, where one has achieved all the good qualities, so have seen the things just as they are, and see the things in as many as there are. So everything that is as many as there are means that everything that exists, and just as they are, So the actuality, of the phenomena, and so by seeing that. So by seeing that, he has completed all the realizations, all the knowledges, and so by completing this, so one have completed, one has fulfilled one's wish and one's purposes, and then in order to it says the sole friend of all sentient beings, and so that's referring to the one who benefits. When we say friend, a friend is someone who benefits you, right? So like your brother, your your siblings, or your friend, someone who benefits you. So that's called that's called a friend. And so here, so Buddha, in order to fulfill the purpose of others or to benefit others, then there are two bodies: the emanation body and the enjoyment body. So those are two for the benefit of others, to help others. And so, so he has these two bodies of the emanation and enjoyment, to benefit others. So how he benefit others, is by showing them, the unmistaken, completely unmistaken path, and so that's how he, benefit them. So there's no way, he can. Just give you, benefit others by giving them the realizations, or by taking them out, of the sufferings. There's no such things as creator, where they will be just created, realizations and so forth for the sentient beings. And also, it is not possible, to have something without a proper cause, without the concomitant cause. So only way one can achieve that is by showing them, exactly what is to be abandoned and what is to be, cultivated. And so there's no way, Buddha can take away all the sufferings of the sentient beings, just like you take out a thorn, from your hand. And also, he said there's no way you can transfer, his realizations, to sentient beings. And so the only way to benefit sentient beings is by showing them the unmistaken complete path to achieve, and then to lead them on the path, and then eventually achieve the state of full enlightenment. And so that is done by the two bodies, like the emanation and the enjoyment bodies. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is yeah. Ani khadi sana, ani shaba tham java sana me. That dera ma chega konde chanda dera. Ani jawo chela chido jido ke che shaba say de. That di ani khasore. Joja dera, taji shiwa na jo omba to kada ngele juda java de joja che. O tende me joja omba to kada ngele juda java de. Ani denje我在这里已经完了，等了多把的体育课完钱。我你现在的女在这个已经听完了，等呢，俺那工作单位的多不到呢，俺工作单位的人数人民，他的工作单位的多把的人个的钱。我觉得俺那嘛没那俺那是这话的是吧？就叫各话了的，都是这话的，俺那这话钱是都是应该的。是吧？这个学习的我才说呢。但是呢，这个一个恰餐呢，继续恰，是呢有个恰餐呢，俺你开始是呢，俺你刚才呢叫我去了，去出去是一个呢，叫我是陪呢，去了俺你用是他去，通到把手的给我，通嘛给我，他都给我，我他妈给我，我说给我汤。아니 코아당 내송도 아니 미동원 정말 세배 취직까지 해서 최세원이 정말에 취직까지 나라세와 정말에 정말에 나라세원이 미동하라 그봐 미동원 어좀 아니 가서래 또 취직 이랑서 남바는 내송도 미동원 정말 아니 저 처음에 저 등에 남양소량 말할 때네 아니 코아를 매동아 정말 해봐 아니 저 처음에 양소량 말할 때네 아니 스시 탈 매동아 정말 해봐 연장 최고 가서 다래서와 정말 주고 하는데 인상 겨와다 코아당 내손도 매동아 정말 기도급이 최세 세월이 저거 최라 최초도 기도급이 최세 안돼 샤고와니 최두가 차게 최두가 이상 최대다 가려서는 만다라 아니 미국 지본 거 주도 제가 주 가서는 미국 지본 거 주든 그와 드니 아세나 아니 저야 또 비게라 벌써 돈이 또 비시다 너 주대 장주가 셈다 타바 되니라 써와 나만 좋은 거와我的一张就是这个缺陷的是我呀
And then in the verse number 2, where he says, O king, now I will explain to you the completely virtuous dharma so that you may accomplish it. And so this shows the commitment to compose or to teach the dharma. And so there's the teaching, the Precious Garland, which actually is composed of the subject matter of the higher rebirth and the definite goodness. And so the purpose of the teaching is the purpose. So and then after that like through listening that through practicing, and then when achieve through practicing the Precious Garland, when achieve the result, the state of enlightenment or liberation, so that will be the result. So in order to in order for it to be virtuous throughout all the time, and in the beginning, in the middle, and the end, and everyone has to have this dharma. So the dharma actually has the meaning of holding. So during the small capable beings path, it holds one from falling into the lower realm, and in the medium capable beings path, it holds from falling into the cyclic existence, and in the great capable beings path, it holds from falling into the extreme of the peace, and both peace and samsara. And so just like it says here, for the dharma will be accomplished when it is explained to a vessel of the true dharma. And so there's the Dharma that is to be abandoned. So that's the abandoning of the 10 non-virtuous actions. So that's usually taught, during the small capital beings path, and then, during the middle capital beings path, there's the teaching on the emptiness, renunciation, and then during the part of the renunciation, or like a wish to achieve liberation, and then bodhicitta, during the path of the great capital beings path.
Oh yeah, that is the one. Choose the Gawachula Sava. Gawachu is Mikajubung Gawachus and Mikajubung Sudum Dirawa. Mikajubung Sudu Sumbala Dene, and then Undo Komatapa. And then Tony to the Sierra down, and let the Chaju with some Gombala Dene. Tony to the Sierra Dene, Chanju Sunga, Yandoga Chanju down, Rajaji Chanju down, teaching the Chanju Sunga Toba Cheba. Didn't any Chanju Semdona, and never tell me she come out of a Chaba Yiza. They do they would do what Shavati. That is, yeah, Tabichi Jinelani, should have killed a counsel, Sigala, and it should do a good letter, condition go there, some letter, she drew by Shaba. That is some Bamati, Tuna, Roa, she drew by Shebe, can't let her carry and the Jetsun money to see to that they be connect, Chene, Cheka, Yamba de Raga, Namsul, Gachilla. Or data, one Shabaki, Tabata Tandjamba Tomo, Tojeji, Castle, one Shabanashi, Namsul, and Gachilli, and I got the Che Trubaki, Che Yamba Kidere, say, Tabichi, and the children to the Casilla, steam by it.
And so the 10 virtues, is the abandoning of the 10 non-virtuous actions. And so by abandoning the 10 non-virtuous actions, one will achieve the higher state of rebirth as human and God. And then by practicing or meditating on the emptiness, wisdom realizing emptiness, and one can achieve, all the three enlightenments: the enlightenment of the hearer, enlightenment of the the solitary realizers, and the enlightenment of the Mahayana path. And on top of that, if one practices the bodhicitta, then one will achieve a complete state of full enlightenment, or the state of omniscience. So that is the accomplishing it. And so when you say accomplish it, so that's what is to be accomplished. By practicing that, one accomplishes the three enlightenments. And it says, for the Dharma will be accomplished when it is explained to a vessel of the true Dharma. So when it says a vessel of the true Dharma is the receptor, the person who is receiving the Dharma teaching, should be free of all the three faulty vessels, and one should listen, with the six, recognitions, to that person who is the perfect, receptor, and one can, receive these teachings, and the Dharma will be accomplished.
Oh yeah, that day, Shabbat Tamjata takes in Tene. Then we see Shabbatella, Shabani, Gobasina de la Shadra, and a Kadri Sena, or did it. That Chinese, a Kabji Jadella, Mondo than a lady, Mondo than a lady to call him. I need to that continue to get on soon to John Guareta. Down Mondo down, and lady to call him Kare, Tambo by Toby, chilling a while, Chumwe. Can't you about Totone, reading a while about one said, Nella, only you then to go it. Toby and Bill on the channel, only you then get top. What had that cause you and I say, said Tenzin, Tanjoki Church, and Denmark, only you then get top. They then the Toby Gala, and it did there, and it Lam Casore. Lam Mazam Meba, and it Dubaki Dan Kyabje by Yinzang, and it did then tell I, and it hit in a lam Tasha Gombala Dene, and it made a Tabata Tamil Temple Comato go Yinzang, Tamumba Togo Comate Togo, and by it. Yinzang Undo said that. 타바탐 톰 메뉴 온도 리젠데 되지 마도네 타바톰 메뉴 바제 그와 이상 온도 리젠데 토바 제발라 간적고 와래서나 다 온도 세야지 땜멤버 아니 가서래 누구만 가서래 누구만 대단한테 때 해봐지라 온도 세야지 예상 자동운이 대 해봐지게 통해서 그와 다음은 토비 테스 되니 티제라 온디 때한테라 때네 시 아니 소리질라와 아니 뜨지질라와 셔러질라와 오질라와 좀 공부하라 때네 아니 내가 해봐 줄라 레슨에 뒤진 티시나 내가 온도 두지를 남도 공부래 어디서
And so, so then after the commitment, of composing that, then we come to the actual one. So the actual, as I mentioned earlier, about the subject matter of this teaching, is the higher rebirth and the definite goodness. And so, and now this is also in the verse 3. This is that vessel for first practices the Dharma of the higher rebirth, and afterwards to come the highest good. Because having obtained the higher rebirth, one proceed in stages to the highest good, and so that shows the sequence in which one is practiced first. So first you practice to achieve the highest rebirth, and then gradually practicing what needs to be practiced to achieve enlightenment. Then you achieve the liberation or enlightenment, which is the definite goodness. So just like I mentioned earlier, first one should practice to achieve the highest state of rebirth. So it's especially like the prophethood and rebirth with all the 8 attributes and all the 18 attributes or 18 qualities. So once one will have that, and then one will once one have that, and on top of that, if one receives the teachings of the complete path, and then on that basis by practicing the method and wisdom, one will be able to achieve the highest, the definite goodness or the highest good. And so without achieving the higher rebirth, or without the prophethood and rebirth, there's no way one can achieve the definite goodness. So first one has to have this, and one has to practice to achieve the higher rebirth, especially the prophethood and rebirth, which is free of all the 8 non-freedoms. And so by having that, and then on that basis, when one practices the 3 trainings, the training of the morality, training of concentration, and training of wisdom, and through that one will be able to achieve the highest good, of liberation and enlightenment.
Oh yeah, there you go. Tanjotini never sinuka. Give it to Juala. 가든들라 탐바 모두나 시리안다 저와 가라 줄 세워 다 다리 단조기 때는 한번 렌지 토비 까비데 애니다 가서래 내서도 메두마 아니 산제주 고마토베 때 켜버제 아니 어제 대상부지 토비 줄라 아니 배서 치고래 와 다주시도 기위들도 땡디도나 아니 라세지든 가리지 지나야 제투가 땡디고네 제투와 어떤데 맞도나 시내에 때한테 시도를 해봐가와 이장 어떤데 송아에 이다 때한테 토비가 아니다 때한테 주세도 마송아 치에데 같이 보인 말이 그러와 어디에 레미네와 레방오스 대랑원도 대화대 내가 레바 타바데 대 루반 도도나 너나 대바다 샤르레 다 가려서 운도 제와니 운디 대화세 다 알아도 하다 미규지 대화대 운디 대화인 말에 와 운디 대화당 아니 당연 지르방 당연 지르방 당 내가 레바니 당 다시 공도 샤바 나시 돈이 도비 셔러지 아니 돈이 도비 셔러 공니 돈이 도비 셔러 공말라 때네 아니 알아도 풍보디 아니 사전이 풍보 동아 탐제지 중공 원디 딜라 때네 아니 동아 강가 용사지 풍보딜라 때네 중화지 중구 여와 예장 풍부디 가봐 쳐봐라 풍부디 제제그 주가고래 풍부디 가래라 때는 중화래 저는 레라 중화 레양 아니 가래라 때는 저는 니모라 중화 니모 그 자와야 아니 니모 차다 모습을 중화 차다 모습 그 자와야 당신 말이 봐라 두바예배 어제 당신 말이 봐이 아니 님보대 가래라서 담에 또 비셔라 당신 말이 봐다 아니 지나온가도 쉬비 아니 또 담에 또 비셔라 남의 시를 또 비셔라 뭐 공부하는 좀 배워라 때네 오늘 다 제거나 다음에 또 비셔라 공부하지 마 코냐 공도 배워라 때네 당신 말이 봐도 추도 다른 때는 잡아지 연구해 와 예장 어디 내에 또 그 규대 아니 다음에 또 비셔라 말이 대라 때네 아니 두근 방배 자와 과대에 또와 연구한 말이 예장 내가 타봐도 세가라 아니 돈이 되게 셔라 때네 두기 세비 타와 두기 세비세 타와 고바데 타바레 와 내가 야바 타바데 대인 주반 도도나 대다셔라 너나 대다셔라서 세다 너나 운도 주제대 타바다 내 주제대 도시 왕도 제 타바다 셔라니 뭐 두세레 세버를 너는 나
And so it is important, to have the higher rebirth, especially the profitable rebirth, in order to achieve, the state of definite goodness, and of the liberation and enlightenment. And so, so just, like it is said, without, when we have achieved this profitable rebirth, if we don't make good use of it, we will not be able to find such kind of rebirth again in the future. So just like it is mentioned here in the verse 4 also, here we maintain that higher rebirth is happiness and the highest goodness, the highest good is liberation. In brief, the method for attaining them is summarized as faith and wisdom. So this, the cause, like, we have to accumulate or create a cause, to achieve the higher rebirth. And so without a cause and condition, we will not be able to achieve higher state rebirth. So we need to create a cause. And so the cause, for creating the higher rebirth, is said to be the faith, and the cause, for the definite goodness, of liberation and enlightenment, is the wisdom, and so so all the sufferings that we experience, this comes from these contaminated aggregates, and then where does this contaminated aggregate come from? And so we have to search, for the cause, of this contaminated aggregate. That the contaminated aggregate comes, from the karma, and then the karma is created through the delusions, and like especially the three poisonous delusions, like attachment, anger, and ignorance. And of that, the very root one is the self-grasping ignorance. And in order to abandon the self-grasping ignorance, one has to generate, the realization of selflessness. And so. And so, as we meditate, and as we develop that wisdom, which is directly contradicting, with the self-grasping ignorance, and when we meditate on that, and then even, gradually, then our self-grasping ignorance will become smaller, and then eventually, will all be diminished. So we'll not have any of that. And then from there, one will achieve the higher state of rebirth. So that is the highest goodness, or the definite goodness, of liberation and enlightenment. And so that cessation, the freedom from all these sufferings, including their cause, and it's called the cessation. So that's when achieve the highest, the higher goodness, or the definite goodness. And so in order to achieve these two results, of the higher rebirth and definite goodness, one has to train, in the faith and wisdom.
Oh yeah. Okay, this one. Don't have that share up said. Oh, only do not. The union was a daughter, and it Damata Kujola Sumla Tabi Tabatan. And it don't need to be share of the chat. But the need tender we want to than any good to learn yet, Toba the Kabadera. Taking each other, they share up danger, and that the news all share up there. Team on the Tabayin is a Tabachan. So, 대방원도 마다 개발돼 연den탐제 수신 폐와체 소나세 전에 대바데 같이 탐제 원도 조고와 와 어디랑 대바치고 자와 임배 아니 대전에서 대인바리 대전이 출라댄스 대바 대전이 바티시레 출라 대바 임바지 아니 원디 주대 가르에서 다시 휴안하시 전에 오늘 둘째디 아니 뭐가 주본 거 주림 원디 체육 교실에서 두발라 땜바를 체가 토마 아니 먼저 두제게 뭐가 주본 거 주를 땜바 체바제 뭐가 주본 거 주를 땜네 아니 돈이 사모도 비시 아니 가서 주름단 땜에 우리 내단지 토나 아니 돈이 사모도 비시라다 돈이 되면 누르도 조고 아래 와 이상 돈이 사모 또는 게 아니 셔라다 땜비실 아니 내루지 태양다 봐다 사장님이 기품보대 매와 써봐라 뒤님보 아니 단디 주조 단전 가고래 단전 가봐라 다음에 또 배셔라 또 와 이상 내루지 태양다 봐 아니 리바 쳐고 그래 세워디 다 조도 뒤 조바 간대래 세나 조도 돈이 더 배셔라대 코알라 오스 초와 칭게되지 아니 돈이 더 배셔라 인상 시바라 오스 초와 쳐봐대 돈이 더 배셔라 그 시바라 오스 초와 쳐봐 인상 뒤뒤 조치체 저 시어 된대지 고마 쳐봐 돈이 더 배셔라 뒤라 제바 쳐봐라야 아니 오늘라 아니 내가 대비 나셔라 이시기 대바 연결이 매나 아니 돈이 더 배셔라 또 메뉴 봐 인상 대용도 아니 대간데 이시비 대방어도 조고래 세야데 이시비 대방어도 마송 와라 셔러지 녀모 돈이 더 배셔라 그 녀모 좀 메뉴 봐 인상 대용도 대간데 조고래 세와데가 오다데 대전이지 출라 대셔러 된지 양다리 등이 쪼고 셔러데 대용도 대바인 사다 도심바래
And then in the verse 5 says, due to having faith, one relies on the practices. Due to having wisdom, one truly understands. And of these two, wisdom is foremost, but faith must come first. And so, it is important, first to have the faith, and the faith in the three jewels and the karmic law of cause and effect. So that faith, has to come first. And so, just like it says, the faith is like the mother, or like the seed, that gives, rise or gives birth or sprouts, to all the excellent qualities. And so, first, it is important, to have the faith. So the faith is like the main cause, for achieving the highest state of rebirth, and the other cause, for achieving the rebirth, one has to abandon the 10 non-virtuous actions. So one have to observe the morality of abandoning 10 non-virtuous actions. So when one have that basis, the morality of abandoning the 10 non-virtuous actions, then on top of that, one will be able to develop, that wisdom realizing emptiness. Wisdom realizing emptiness, or wisdom realizing the actual mode of existence. The how things really exist, or the actual mode of existence. And so so through that, then through understanding the wisdom, one will be able to abandon all the causes of the sufferings, the self-grasping ignorance, and one will be able to be free from the cycle existence. So in order to do that, first one have to realize the emptiness. In order to achieve liberation or enlightenment, one have to realize emptiness. So therefore, the emptiness, realization of the emptiness is the foremost. Is the main one, but before that, one have to have the faith in the karmic law of cause and effect, and the three jewels. So that's what it says here. So of these two, the wisdom is the foremost, but faith must come first.
Oh yeah, that is yeah. I can't show it. You didn't do some more so. You didn't do some money, but you didn't do some long one, but I didn't do it. You go again to go in town. And that can be condition. And I joined the bar. You didn't do Jackie. I need to change. Do not share on Chibada, Momba, she cheered. Didn't have a 10 tabak chance. No one you be your yin, said it. Udunda Shedang says, Danga to draw Shikune, and go at Tabasio, did it, Dimetro, Shedanga draw, Chibetro, Mombe draws. Or the Dumbasiawani Dejala to go at it. You are Shala Chapadang. Shala Chaba, and you saw Chabala, so Juchin, Sochela Juchin, and you or Soja Bomb, Shedo, and Chabadang, Dimetro Tavas. 아니 그냥 나르셈비세 아니 샤라페 나르셈바마 아니 레바첸데 케사바게 아니 소자바다 보니 세당이 쳇라다와 세당이 쳇라다와 아니 야 자위 쳇발라 소바게 집에 쳇도와디 아니 집에 쳇라다와 나바 파마라 소비 쳇도 소자바소 예매도 소네 파미 쳇도 소자발라 요요 마레스 아니 뭐저아니 몸베 쳇라다와 我听着，我习惯了吃了到了，当年，俺度假康熙空头下巴给，我顶巴当、斜当当、鸡巴当，我被吃了明大吧，我被吃太大了明大吧，连带了说话一切话呢，俺太把钱写下去的，这个顶当斜当鸡巴当，我被康熙吃没的，天天太把钱写下，我听着我的太把钱的。 And
then in verse 6, it says, one who does not neglect the practices through partiality, anger, fear or ignorance is known as one with the faith, or a superior vessel for the highest good. So, so he's talking about the perfect vessel, the disciple, the perfect disciple for receiving the teachings, and so it says talking about one who does not neglect the practice through partiality. So actually, it's also talking about the aspiration. The aspiration is like the wish, so out of attachment, So like someone who kills. Who kills or takes the life of other beings, out of attachment, for its meat, and thinking that that's okay, so like that, and then also, or out of anger, towards somebody who causes harm, or out of fear. This is a fear, fear towards the punishment, of the king and so forth, or out of ignorance, thinking like, if one kills, for the sake of one's father or mother, then that's okay. So that's kind of ignorance. And so, without that, so not having any of this, and who have the faith, complete faith in the coming law of cause and effect, is the perfect vessel, for this teaching, the highest goodness.
Oh yeah, that is yeah. Kasi lima yiji le, tamje leba yon da de, da shen la pension na da du sheba te kewa, 是吧？da ju kasa ngara zo, lu dang, lu ji guan na, lu dang, nga dang, yi ji guan ne, ani mi给我看，lima yi说了大把钱呢，给我了9个多个，ani mi给我了9个多个，罗马带了9个多个。 我带你，一张大把钱的，龙马给来，一进来给每个龙马的他们家老板来把，要说大水这把钱的，每个我到龙马单位就把他怕帮呢，龙马我什么的话，俺给我干啥了？给我钱了。 给我钱把天，让他们把羊大把作为抢，扛给我钱把天，俺让他们把扛说的，让他们把羊大把作为3节去抢去特别低了把羊送我呢，俺3节几天就把你，3节几天就把你打线了，偏把一了，是打线了，偏把谁的他对是，然后另外个，刚才另外个观念，年限了多把的，你刚才另外年限了就把这多，你没给我了就把这多把，另外点了就把这多把，我那刚才是那过去给外来了就呢，我给外来了就没给我听，你确实叫我3节的把羊打把做个3节就恐怕。 特别就是我呢，我呢，俺3节去天主把呢，俺天主把的，俺搭档3节线给他偏把一了，天主把的，让多给呢线，让多今年说了，反正就把这线呢，让多出行都 따도 제바데 아니 캐바 무시럽 제스텔라 시그레 라도라 로바 슈위 내가 리바 야 갑자기 캐라 메샤보스 라도라 로바 슈 아니 샤샤다 리비네 샤바도 저래 샤바시지 이나야 텔라 캐바시 그 말이 그봐 너는 누나 아니 지부스미제 남제는 말레버라 시에네 수신형 술렘바데 갑자기 아니 타바잖아 샤럽 제스 되네지라 시그레 어야
And in the verse 7, it says, a wise person is one who, having accurately analyzed all actions of body, speech, and mind, always acts for the benefit of self and others. So a person who is always examining one's behaviors or one's action of the body, speech, and mind, whether whether it is engaging in the virtuous action or non-virtuous actions or in neutral actions. So always checking or analyzing on that, and then making sure that it does not engage in any of the non-virtuous or neutral action, but always engaging in the virtuous actions, and even the virtuous action and the virtuous actions of the bodhicitta and wishing to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all. So if one is engaging in such kind of virtuous action, then through that one can achieve the state of full enlightenment, and that will be benefiting oneself. Oneself and others, and so that is always striving to check what is to be abandoned and what is to be cultivated, and always making sure that one cultivates only what is to be cultivated and always abandons what is to be abandoned. And so if one does that, then one is a wise person. And otherwise, even if one is expert in all the 5 sciences, but one doesn't observe that practice of what is to be abandoned or what is to be cultivated, then one is not a wise person.
Oh yeah, that is it.
Sorry. And so engaging in that the path of the 3 capable beings path, is the wise person. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is it. And then one do that ngale shabatere. Undi ani undi june shabata ngale june shabani nane. Undi june shabas. Right? One do senang around the top of the lian de la one do sigare. Right? That one do that ngale ni nane. And you got a jewelry in Bachana, Nella on the chung. Teacher ngale tokora. Nella. Lam Gombaba, only the Kyabje, Muli, the Kyabje, the Tijera, any late Tabata Tada Chabacoma, do any Tabachaba, any Lam Tapte Gomne, any lady to Stogo and Zang. Julie Bill the China, Undone, Nella Tomne, Tijera, any Julie Tori. That will be in Bill on the China. 도비를 배워도 쟤는 내랑 통해 티제랑 내래 온도 타고 가래 온도 타고 가래 그러나 온도 리대 생각에 가르치라서래 세나 네 신도 고주 단체는 저 신고 세리스 지저가래 얘가 룰에 때는 만에 또 타고 말해 룰에 때는 아니 온들이 때 타고 가래 내래대 아니 luna dem mogoba odo gri bala tena po to gari wa tadi ya mo to che nele to be be wa do che ne nele jomden de sanje ji chama jomden de ani to ba chama tu ne ani ti lunde ani sanje ji dem lunde jesu ta be lung yin ba yin zang ani jesu ji ta be lung la tene 아니 온도 공부에 참여 두고 인상 내가 좀 전에 산재 공부 산재 참여 두고 고고 아래 또는 뭐 하잖아 주의 뭐 하잖아 온도 내가 주네 아니 내가 제가 주나 두시게 알바야 대로 쓰다
And so now, talking about the higher rebirth and definite goodness. So the cause and effect, the 2 sets of the cause and effect of the the higher rebirth and cause and effect, of the definite goodness. And so when we talk about the higher rebirth, so the rebirth that we have now, is what we call the higher rebirth. So like being born as a human, with all the favorable conditions, to practice Dharma. That's the higher rebirth. And so first you have to achieve the higher rebirth, and then on the basis of that higher rebirth, then one can practice, to achieve the definite goodness. So in terms of which comes first, is the higher rebirth, and then after that comes the definite goodness. But in terms of realizing, first you have to realize the definite goodness, and then you realize the highest state of rebirth. And so here we're talking about the Buddha. So first you have to understand the Buddha. Right? So first you have to prove that Buddha is a valid person. And so once you have that, then so that you have to analyze. Or come to realize. Through the analysis. Through checking or through analyzing, through logical reasonings. And then after that, once you have found that somebody is a valid person, a Buddha, then whatever he teaches that. And when he says that, that's through his Buddha's scriptural teaching, or through his quotations. And then because we understand that Buddha is a valid person, so whatever he teaches, we believe in that. So that you can come to realize through the quotations from Buddha's teaching, or through the scriptures. So that's why it says in terms of realizing. So first you realize the definite goodness, and then you realize the higher rebirth. But in terms of which one is generated first, or which one comes first, is the first one is the higher rebirth, and on the basis of that you practice, and then you achieve the definite goodness.
Oh yeah, that is I don't want to say that. I can't do this. I want to say you say that. I'm around the top of the did it. That they can do this, only they'll call and talk about it. And it's some kind of dog, say, kind of the kind of then the dreaded and then Judy kind of is and a megachilla on it. And they get you, I didn't make it you won't go to them, the watchula then a top of the megachu bumping. Make it you won't go to them is a megachu bande. And they go at you, I'm so number then, and it would you let the top of the isn't that digging on it? I know Kalan Doba could share the Candele, Senator Jetsun and Nani. That thing around to make you today. So, Mr. Bada Gubondan, Shaji Chuma Bongadan, Lord and Chama Tumidan, Mande Bada Yanda Tom, so did it, and make you with it. That day, Soja Mr. Soja Probuti and Mr. Only Mr. Only Soja Bonga. 아니 생기 총 다도 소리 아니 제 구아 어 생기 다도 소마 그제 구아 구아 봉아 어 마지막에 봉아 아니 생기 총마 봉아 생기 총마 라 아니 봉아데 어제제 어 로연 봉아데 로연제 어 대선보디 류지련에 나바 숨 세대래 와 유지량이 남았음 유지량이 메가와주 유지량이 메가와 숨산에 대봉의 그 초점 숨체 근데 로마 미디어도 가서 주의 생활대라 안에 도시 주어져 고와 현상 로마 미디어 도시 주냐 마 생각라 로바 도시 주니 마임바라 임바 마시아바라 체와 오다 도시 주니 마와데 주의 생각라 아니 주의체 아니 참아셔봐 이제 현지 책마와 참아셔봐 바로 이번에 참아셔봐 그 믿음 받쳐봐 그러나 현지 제비 책마와 바로 뭐 아니 현지 세계비 책랑 뭐 책좀 아니 책좀 마와 유지련의 넘버송 아게 넘버 시다시요 소아 참아 책좀 나자 세가나 만들어 주자도 봐야 나자 봉화야다 봐 봉화데 내가 미개와 지야도 봐 미개와라 도 봐야라 그래서 어서져봐 마신바래 봐 아니 로양 봉화도 유지란 봐 숨체 참아 책좀 아니 자방와데 아니 나게 남바 쇼데 전에 두세야.
And so, in order to achieve the highest rebirth, the profitable rebirth, one has to engage in the 10 virtuous actions and of abandoning the 10 non-virtuous actions. And so what are the 10 non-virtuous actions that one has to abandon? So it's like it mentioned here in verse 8, refraining from killing and from stealing, not engaging in adultery, restraining from lying, divisive speech, harsh words, and idle talk. And so just like it's mentioned there, so first, one has to observe the morality of abandoning these 10 non-virtuous actions. And so the 10, out of the 10, the 3 are of the body, the created through our body. And so the first one is killing. So abandon killing. So killing includes even like killing insects and so forth. And the stealing, so stealing taking the things and that is not given to oneself or that does not belong to oneself. And then adultery is like abandoning adultery, abandoning others' wives or husbands. And so these are the 3 created through our body, like killing, stealing, and engaging in adultery. And so those are the 3 to be abandoned, created through our body. And then the 4 created through our speech. So first one is the lying, like it says here. Lying, giving a wrong idea or wrong notions, giving us saying that you did it when you didn't do it, or when you say it is this when it's not that, and so when it's not this, and so forth. So that kind of giving wrong notions or idea, and and the divisive speech, the speech slandering or divisive speech, which causes others, to be disharmony, or gets into fight and so forth. So that kind of speech, and the harsh word, that hurts the words, that hurts the feelings of other people, and the last one is the idle gossip or idle talk, talking about non-dharma or unrelated things. So wasting time talking about unrelated or non-dharma things.
Oh yeah.
These are the 4 of the speech.
That is usually number to put it. That dinner usually number some botella. I didn't have some lotas. Lobsang in Lolacha. There's some simple latawa. Get a make it medawa, Lobatawa in Chenny, and it's a song on Chenny. Or castle 차당 뉴스 세대 안나스들의 차바데 네 현지예밤 현지로자 강을 강야 중화지랑 알아 초나 지마로 냐바게 차바데 로베 현지노라 차 세대 나스들제 아니 현라 그냥 나서바게 아니 바 내가 친들 그 삼바데라 뉴스 섬장 라당와서 아니 뉴스들제 뉴스들제 차당 뉴스 세대제 뉴스 매바와서 아니 매바 뉴스미세 매바바니 타와봉세 게다미데 매가와 메타와 로바타와 인세가 레네라 쿠와다바케 매바타바 매바니 제타와니 얘기미게와 숨나제와 요소봉이 레람디니 아니 까빌레람추 까빌레람추 류마기 된당 얘기미게와 주방이 아니 레람데데 까빌레람추 강방주기 아니 뭐라면 좀 보대 아니 가서래 나비래람 나비래람 도시 말에.
And then in the verse 9, it says abandoning covetousness, malice, and nihilistic views. These are the 10 bright paths of action. So refraining from these are the 10 bright paths of the action. The 10 gloomy ones are the opposites. So the first one is our covetousness, which is the part of attachment, and so being attached to others' possession and wishing to own it for oneself, and thinking like, oh, I wish I could have that thing, like that kind of wish, wanting to own others' possessions, and the malice is the harmful intention. So out of anger or hatred, wanting to cause harm to others. And then there's a nihilistic view. So here is like the wrong view, thinking that there's no karmic law of cause and effect, like criticizing about the karmic law of cause and effect, saying there's no karmic law of cause and effect, and so forth. So those are the three created through our mind, and so these are the refraining from these 10, the 10 right parts of the action. And then the 10, the 10 gloomy are the opposite as the 10 non-virtuous actions. So not refraining from them and engaging in them, and are the 10 the gloomy actions.
Oh yeah, that's any she samba joa, kana sejaki, any sojate she, any samba, any senduk samba, any joa, any counsel cheni wala sowa, any that jo sebi joa samba. Tadu paro bosoan kaba chene, or dina she chene da, yaram gangala she samba joa tadu chakua to somebody.
And each of these actions, you have to apply the four, the basis, the intention, the action, and the conclusions. So each one has, you have the basis, the object, and then you have the intention, wanting to kill, and then the action of killing, and then at the conclusion, feeling satisfied of having done that action. So those four should be applied to all these actions, all these 10 actions.
Oh yeah. That is Kanamadoba Shandoba. I didn't know Kondo Shabaki, Jumayambaki, any Banguya, you are my resident, you are Sakare, I need Chamitunda, Sawasa, number me says, Namitedans, or Digi Kare, I need Lisa Army about Shabaki, Chamidunga, Champoata. Chimbanamji, any Tedans, and a Sala Sola, Uji Chapapoma. Tedan. Oh, Tedan, and a song in Nagarjuna, what kilo diet to Zula, or Tedala, you just have a Pama. And the other two are in and the Lobsang, lot of Bambak, and the Toasamba Temba. Toasamba, Lumag told, the other two are Lumag Totamba Sony, number 7 that you were divas number Missavatan. Oh, was Teda some kind of Dobadera, or to Chegada.
And then so are these the only 10 that is to be abandoned? There's nothing else. There's in the verse 10 it says no, there are more. And it says in brief, Dharma consists of not taking intoxicants, and maintaining proper livelihood, abandoning harm, being respectfully generous, honoring the worthy, and cultivating love, and so forth. So these are the things that, in addition to abandoning the 10 non-virtuous actions, one should engage in. And so the first one is like says not drinking, taking intoxicants. That includes the alcohols and the drugs and so forth. So that makes one's body and mind uncontrollable. So one cannot control one's body and mind once having taken that, and then it makes one to engage in the non-virtuous actions. So those kind of things, those substances one should not take. And then so that's also that's referring to the lay people mostly. And then for the monks or for the ordained monks and nuns, it is maintaining a proper livelihood. So maintaining proper livelihoods is taking what one is given and so forth, and abandoning the harm, causing harm to others, and being respectfully generous, honoring the worthy, so those who are worthy of veneration, or honoring them, and cultivating love.
Oh yeah. That lot of things there. I just told you, you never saw. Casa so long say, told you go at it. And two years ago, and then about 10 to yen, and you about 10 to yen, you about 10 to yen, and you couldn't have long day, and then you would get on a Jimaron, Yando, I take a big cut, Luigi Jesu Labata there, and I told him, Sando, or she seemed to know what they did to say about it. And then Casani, you about 10 to yen, somewhere couldn't allow the call la anybody. 가서라 다른 번에 철학이 태도 용바인스 아니면 코라 디네와 철학 디네와데 아니 체지 태인스가 다 가사세 각자 다시 요구 짜주 체외가나 아니 나랑에 버튼도 쳐 아니 너희 이제 철학에 경으로 아니 더빙 더바 체비가라 아니 마마와테라 아니 다티 가사세야죠 아니 시행기 레디다 부처는 예바테나 디토마로 오지 그래 가자냐 뭐샤비 티제라 아니 라라 예바 텐도 용아 체바게 아니 샤롱세야죠 에파 예바 추주지 전에 추치 예바바 첨보지 토도 용아 레와다 오데라 아니 토치 자와 세야죠 예배예바 소화당 토지자와다 데레다 예배예바 소화당데체 토지자와는 예바라 세베 현라 아니 가제냐 모셔봐 지금 대지기 권에 아니 간제 예바 토바 쳐봐더라 다 가서로 수지 가사 쇼롱 어디니 토지자와 예배예바 소화 사이다 로송하고 대도 심바래
And so, talking about the wrong livelihoods, so seeking livelihood out of this wrong intention. So that's called the hypocrisy, flattery, hinting, and misusing your property to get more, and so forth. So these are the intention, for getting, receiving the offerings, or the alms, so that kind of things, right? So I'm talking about like hypocrisy and saying, in order to achieve, in order to gain the gift or the offerings. And you pretend to be very good practitioner, keep the pure moralities, and always always show like very peaceful and so forth, that kind of things. And then the flattery is like saying things to flatter others, or especially like saying like, oh, I came from very, very far away just for, just to help you, just for your sake, and so forth. So with the intention, to receive, offerings and gifts and like that, or hinting, giving a hint, by saying that, oh, that was very useful. That was very good, and so with the hope, to get more of that. So, or by doing small things, expecting to get a big things, and then it's misusing your property to get more things like that. So those are the wrong livelihood, briefly explained here.
Oh yeah, that is 아니 가서 그진당 최다 참바대 세가라 아니 가서는 김바체비 유남라 아니 랑게 아니 가서는 김바동에 가라야 아니 그거다 자리 김바체바대라 랑게 라다네 부와다 아니 그거다 제비제로고는 부와마도 봐 두시육샤라서 와들에 메체봐 부와라서 그거라 그거 김바다 아니 랑게 가서 최수하게 간보다 연대이 아니 연대제남라 아니 사바야 아니 쳐봐 사바시야 쳐봐 아니 최연남라 쳐봐당 세대 요 최연나라 쳐봐당 아니前辈 준비했어 아니 섬전남라 대화다 대도 그 참봐 섬전남라 동화다 자도지 인가 인반 가서래 이제 아니 섬전남 가서 때 팀바데 가봐 아니 섬전라 아니 섬년바데 팬들집에 섬년바데 나눔 생기시가라 오다디 참에 쉬고도 되는바데 참에 준비 참에 시디 준비 최소 대라지나 그리고네 아니 쳐다 사세다 아니 미지바 써야 돼 아니 쏙 잡아라 써봐 미지바 잡지 마 전시 쏙 잡아야 돼 어딘데라 안에 대테는 두심바를 최는나 잡아대서
And then respectful generosity. So when you are giving, practicing generosity, where you give, to others, giving out of, giving with respect, like with the giving, or especially like when you're offering to the teacher, teacher, offering to one's teacher, giving to one's teacher, or offering to one's teacher, or to someone who is very qualified, especially qualified with the Dharma knowledge. Then you offer with the two hands and out of by bowing down with the two hands like that. So that kind of way of giving is called the respectful generosity, not just like throwing and in front of them or on their laps, things like that. Not doing that, but out of with respect, offering with the two hands or right hand and so forth. So that kind of behavior. And then on top of that, then having the love, towards all sentient beings, and it's the love that contains all the four immeasurables. The love, wishing all sentient beings to be happy, and wishing all sentient beings to be free from suffering, the compassion, and being happy, with others' happinesses, is the joy, and then seeing all sentient beings in equal, without partiality, and that is the equanimity. And so seeing, having this kind of love towards all sentient beings, with the four immeasurables.
Oh yeah, that one I should take say only do shady on the Shabbat. I know a church is. That end of the church robote, I need Shiro or a meba. Oh, she divided Shana meba diameter. Number lawsuit, I need Shiro and the meba diameter. Ludu Japan Basile Chemetani Teta, Chemetata Tini, Shana never bomb machine. Shana Pendo Yama Yin, Sigana, and it lead to my chapa. Rama, Sajabatan, Chilobatin took, and it Sajabatan. And it lead a Mama Dambaso, so lead to my chapa in town. Oh, Basi Chapa, Tabamitoba myself. Only lead to Tokumari, say, Lidun Chapa Basile Chemetata Tini, Shana never bomb machine, Shana Pendo Yama Yin, Sigana. Undo David Chaja Yamari. Teta Tini, Shella never bomb making, Shella Pantobaya Yabamari, running under Jula Shubare, I saw the Jula Shubare.
And so this kind of the 16 dharmas or 16 teachings, is only possessed by the Buddha's teaching, and the other teachings don't have that. Other religions, other teachings don't have that. So that's what it says here in the verse 11. So Dharma does not come about merely through engaging in the physical austerities, and through that type of practice, one neither ceases harming others, nor does one benefit them. And so there's the non-Buddhist practitioners, or the Buddhist followers, who practice of fasting. Not eating at all, just fasting throughout their life, or tormenting their own body, and so that kind of practice, that kind of austerities will not even achieve the highest state of rebirth, let alone the definite goodness. Will not even achieve, and so doing that will not even benefit oneself, and will not also stop harming other sentient beings.
Oh yeah, that is Quadruple Kasani, Lam Kosala Trova Kasatira. Gina Tritum Sesawa, Tamji Casa, Gina Tritum Sesawa, Tamji Lambo Chela Kang. Mali Lidon Nalam Ste, Rambotan and Trova Te, Sigana, and it's Chimbatang. Don't Saba Chimbata, Tritumda, Sebala Sawa, Sebiche Sawa de, and it's Chimbati, Chimbasumda, Chisum, Setira. Body Sudim County Lunga Body Sudim. On it, Castle, the Chimwich, Cholangasum Gustava, Gasawa Gustava, Sumla Soviet, Tabichi, Lamocella, Kivu Kam Marcushin, Kuba Message. On it lead to only Kuba Message, and Lila Namadamba, Sovak, Sachavala Sovak, lead to one, Tetum. Chola, so Tomala Soviet, Lamambane, and it draw teachers to tender Shannon draw tires. Nagi Lam to be Lam Kovatane, draw tea, 랑당 제주县남장 아니 봐 리월 추바트 랑 마세 아니 제주县대장 랑 과사라 티네 리월 추베 리월 추바 워스 어야
And then in verse 12, this is one who does not respect the great path of the true Dharma, with its manifest generosity, ethical conduct, and the fortitude, follows the mistaken path of the inflicting hardship on the body, just as the cow in a herd follows the line of cattle. So. And so, here, practicing the generosity, like we mentioned earlier about, offerings, making offerings and so forth. The morality, is the ethical conduct or morality is morality of abandoning the 10 Non-Virtuous Actions. And the fortitude, is the patience, practicing the patience, of not retaliating the harm, or voluntarily taking and accepting the sufferings, or the patience of the discriminative Dharma. So any hardship involved in doing the practice of Dharma, willingly taking those kind of practice, patience is good. Otherwise, tormenting one's body by fasting or by doing other things, will not even help oneself, and let alone others, and not even those who follow them, will be able to benefit anything from that.
Oh yeah, that did oh yeah, Mudi Janji, that did there are Mudi Janji, Lam Makushin, Lam Loba Drawani, and it's Pekare, Brokoma Tata Silla Soviet, Nata Tupuri, Tava, and Lam Mode, and Drokawanasi, Jua Kawanamso, and a tender Lam Kone, Jubatar, tender Lam One, Jubatar. Oh, Kobe drawn in Misabi, Taya Kibi Sijandu. And in Yamundube, Kibili, Sidu Juba Churu, so that Kobe Drokamasane, and a castle, Yawala Soviet, Dunga Misaba, Tayaba Kansi. And it down Yamuban and a Jizola Tawala Soviet, and it Lodatan, Tawa Chonting, Chudum Dushi Choting La, so I got Tawang and Bagi, Tibul Huma. 아니 람 담발라 아니 봐 셈바다 잡이 셈바 먹고 아니 콤바다 잡이 지위 신전도 대자라서의 녀모바 두배 칩이 리동아 쳇바니 다 코와시도 이름 뭐 주바를 교회 다 거기 존이 메사바 타야 지위 신전도 녀모 두배 칩이 리 시도 이름 주바 교세가라고 주바를 교회 다 레서 다 소소 어디 대화 등에 다 소소 레바지 등에지 인치잖아 다 레서 대화 남기 아니 그게 신이라 때네 람나말 민다와 람나말 민다와 치지로게 람라 셴바지 세치리차 마신바 샤고세 람 나마세가라 라마야 이마 민다디가라 라이마 다장 타달라 이마 마임바 치지로게 람임바 타달라 마신바 다야게 세쳐바다 리라 명아담바다 다 치로가 드리와라 어디 숨과래 치지로게 라라 마신바 체체차오세야.
And then in verse 13, it says, such a person with a body entwined with by the savage snake of negative mental states wanders for a very long time in the terrifying wilderness of cycle existence, whose trees are limitless beings. And so it's similar to the earlier. So those beings who are caught in the cycle existence, especially in the three lower realms like hell realms and going through infinite sufferings, and who have strong delusions and the wrong views, the view of the transitory collections, and thinking the wrong view as the supreme views and so forth, and so who are who are separated, from the habituation or the habituation of the novel path and so forth. So these beings, who engage anyway. So like mentioned earlier, who engage in the wrong path, of fasting and so forth. So tamad concern much.
So, oh, the counsel, that is a Durbanamji taboo, giving it a 10 Lama mean thou as a lam yabo, say about the Mengatamala so lam yap, Kanama mean thou as a chit, mean thou a chichiloki lamla, Mashimba.
And so it is important, to not fall into such paths, and by following, such kind of wrong teachers, and who says their path is correct, even though it's incorrect, but they say that's correct, and that's the middle way path, and even if it's not, and. And teaches that, so it is important, to not fall into such paths and under such teachers.
Oh yeah, that's
Okay, so we'll stop here.
Oh yeah, thank you, sir.
Page 39.
Okay, page 39 is short Thanksgiving. The Jetsun Kappa's final Lamrim prayer. From my two collections, vast as space, and I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time. Kyabje, the chief leading Buddha of Homage, demised, blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, Manjushri. May I find the best and complete Vedic paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhists by practicing. Using skillful means, drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I cure the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned. May I uphold the Buddhist teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time. By even this graded course to enlightenment completed due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhists and their children. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path raised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes an effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. The short, long life prayer for His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. Gangri Rawe Urwe Jinkam Dir Pendang Dewa Maru Jungwene Jenre Zewan Tenzin Yatsoyi Jate Sinte Wadu Tenduchi. Chen